Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video we're going to be going over something that is a bit important in Maplestory, and that is going to be bossing, but more specifically knowing when and how you can do bossing earlier. Also, what is the most efficient route of upgrading things, and pretty much an overall useful tool in Maplestory that I think everybody should use. I know for myself, I haven't used it as much as I should, but I definitely use it more than I ever have now, since it is so important to use, and that tool is actually going to be Maplescouter. So I'm going to show you guys how to go from your Maplescouter looking like this with a bunch of zeros and no information given to you to this fully plugged in scouter where it shows you exactly what you can do, how you can do it, and essentially why it is so good for pretty much every single player in the game to use, whether you are mid game, late game, and even early game, but more specifically, especially if you are an end game player, why you have to be using Maplescouter. Now, there's a few reasons why this website is actually so amazing. Number one, it can show you when you can start doing bosses, whether it's a 2-man spec, 3-man spec, solo min cut, or 6-man party bossing. That's an absolutely amazing reason why this website is so good. The other reason why this website is so amazing is because it actually shows you what the FD gain would be on certain items and how much damage you're actually going to gain from making certain upgrades. So it can actually help you make decisions based on the price and FD gained of certain items in Maplestory. And we're going to get into all that a little bit later on, but for now, let's change our scouter and make sure that it is all set up. So I'm going to take you guys pretty much through that entire rundown and how that essentially works. So first things first, what I would recommend everybody doing is making sure that you translate it to whatever language that works for you. So for me, I'm going to translate it to English so I can read what is going on the page. Secondly, for most people that are watching this video, you want to make sure that you have these two checked here, reboot and liberation checked. If you are obviously not liberated, do not check that, but make sure you do have reboot enabled there. Next thing is we're going to make sure that we plug in our correct level. Now, I'm actually going to have my stat window pulled up on the side and pretty much guide you guys through exactly what you need to be looking at when you are doing this scouter. So first things first, we want to make sure that we select our class. Now, this drop down isn't going to work. So what you're going to do is you're going to delete whatever is selected in there, and then you're going to go and find your class. So for me, I'm going to go and find Adele, and I'm going to select Adele here. And I'm also going to make sure that I have GMS/Maplesc enabled as well, so the correct calculations go through. And then from here on, I'm going to go to the stat calculator. So you want to make sure that you calculate your stats correctly. So it's going to ask you for your two main stats. So for me, it's going to be strength. So I'm going to go and look at my stat window, and I'm going to see that my total strength is going to be 80,792. Also, one thing to note when you are doing this, make sure that you have your pets buffing you in town, because you do want to have SE and decent combat orders on, and you also want to make sure that you have familiars on when you are doing this stat calculator and pretty much inputting all your stats on here as well. So that's going to ask me for the percentage, and then I can see that it says percent value, which is going to be 582, and then percent not applied is going to be 31,770. So I'm going to put that in, and then for dex, it's going to be 10,876. Percent value is going to be the exact same as strength, so 153, and then percent value not applied, the same area that strength was in, is going to be 390. So when I do that, I'm going to hit submit. Then we're not done yet. We're going to make sure that we do our attack now. So for our attack, you want to make sure that you get the base value, which is going to be 3,786, and then for the percent value, it's going to be 118%, and then you're going to put a 0 in for the percent value not applied. So then once we've done the original stat calculations, we're going to go and do the rest on our stat window here. So for damage, it's going to be 105%. Boss damage is going to be 518%. Ignore enemy defense is going to be your IED, so 97.49. Critical rate, you could just put in 100. Obviously, if you are an archer, you do want to make sure that you have the correct critical rate inputted, because that is going to affect your scouter. Critical damage 135.05. cooldown reduction is going to be 4 seconds and 6%. Buff duration 104. Cooldown skip is going to be 15.5, which is going to be the cooldown not applied here. It's going to be your cooldown skip percentage. Ignore elemental resistance 5%. Additional status resistance 20%, and then summons duration is going to be 10%. And then obviously for your arcane force, you can put in whatever you want to, but obviously most people will be maxed out here. So for me, 1350, and then my sacred force is going to be 760. That's essentially going to give you what your base stats are, and the range should line up accurately with what your in-game range is. So for me, it's 179,610,028, and then on Scouter, it actually shows me that exact number right here, so I have plugged it in correctly. But that is not going to be it, because you want to make sure that you input all these stats up here as well. So I'm going to put in my guild stats here, 15, 13, 15, 15, and then I'm going to make sure that I check Sayram's 275 potion, Echo, Legion Might, Ursus, guild buff, red sparkling pot, extreme potions, MVP super buff if you have them. If you don't, you don't need to check it, but for me, I have them, so I'm going to check it. And then VIP buff if there are VIPs in the game, which there are currently. Then obviously the crit damage, and then the fish buff is essentially going to emulate your Tengu buff, so you can always put that in. And then for here, you're going to look at what you have for your link skills, and then you're going to plug them in. So for me, I do 2 Cadena, I do 3 Arc, I do not use Kane or Ilium, and then I have 6 Mage, 6 Thief, 3 AB, and then level 2 Mojuan. Now obviously that is going to change for everybody, so if you use different link skills, just plug in whatever link skills that you use. And then for Wild Hunter, I have a level 250 Wild Hunter Legion block. If you don't, just put in the level 200 one, and then you are going to plug in your Oz rings here as well. So for me, I have 2 level 4 rings, and then your weapon attack total, you're going to make sure you go to your weapon. For me, it's 778, so I'm going to plug in 778 here. So then from here, you can go and click results, and it will show you what your exact hexa converted is. Now, this is the tip of the iceberg. This isn't really what gives you a ton of information. What really is helpful is the detailed information part of the Maplescouter. Now, this is where things become very, very helpful for you and your character. So currently, I am at 104.6k converted. And what's really cool is that if you hover over all these bosses over here, you can actually see what you're able to do and not do. So for example, hard limbo, it says I'm at 135%, so I'm way over spec. For hard baldrix, it says I'm at 88%, which that isn't accurate. I absolutely am at spec of doing hard baldrix. Something must be wrong here. Anyway, the normal baldrix 2-man 186%, and then it pretty much shows you everything that you're able to do on this scouter. Now what's really, really cool here is that actually helps you figure out how far off you are from certain special missions in the game. For example, Destiny Liberation missions, champion missions, it's all very, very useful. So this isn't just for your main, but this is also for mules as well. So for example, it says for Destiny Sea Callus mission, I'm at a 97% min cut, which would mean that it is possible for me to do at this current spec. And then obviously showing Destiny Saren mission, 146%, way over spec. And then obviously at the moment, we are at 67% for hard calling. But the point of this all is that it shows you what you're able to do with the current spec that you're at. The thing that's also really, really cool is you can see how much final damage you'll need to gain to actually be able to do some of these missions or bosses in the game, which is very useful for your mains. It's also very, very, very useful for things like your Legion champion as well. So you can go into direct input and you can do things like just adding final damage. So for example, I'm going to look at the hard calling Destiny Liberation mission, and I'm going to see how much FD I actually need to be able to do it. So I'm going to start with 20% final damage here and see where it puts me. So it puts me at 80 now. Let's put in 40% final damage and let's see where we're at. So 40% final damage, getting me to the min cut here. So again, super, super cool, super, super helpful. You can pretty much figure out how much FD you need to gain, or how much hexa converted you need to gain to do some of these missions. Now, I'm going to actually show you guys another reason why this is super, super, super important and very, very cool. This can also help you determine exactly what upgrades you want to make, or what is most important or most valuable for your character to make in Maplestory. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to open up my equipment inventory in game, and we're going to look at like everything that I have here to double prime. So I'm going to go through everything here, tally it up. So 1 double prime, 2 double primes, 3 double primes, 4. Now, what am I doing this for, you may ask? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to add in the total stat gain from getting 4 double primes here. So that's going to be 12% strength. So let's apply that and let's see how much converted we actually get. So the final damage is going to be 1% final damage. So I'm going to keep a note here on a notepad. So it's going to be 1.064% final damage gained for 4 double primes. Okay, so we'll keep a note of that number, and the reason why that's going to be useful is because we're actually going to compare that to something else. So that's 1.06% final gain for 4 double primes on my gear. The other item that I might be thinking about double priming is going to be my secondary. So let's actually plug that in here, and let's see how much we would gain. So we would gain 3% attack from that double prime. Now, that is going to be a 1.150% FD gain for 1 double prime on secondary. So what you can do is actually go into the Maplestory cubing and then figure out how much it's going to cost you for certain items to double prime. So I'll do all the math here real quick and then I'll come back. Okay, so we have done the math for double priming all these items after we looked up the final damage gain per item in the game. So for the equips, it's going to be a total of 302 bill for 4 double primes or 1.06% final damage. And then for the secondary, it's going to be a total of 886 bill for 1 double prime for 1.15% FD gain. So here, obviously, we can see that the equips do give a smaller FD gain overall, and obviously per item double primed. But the secondary is such an egregious amount to spend for only 1.150% FD that it's really not worth it to go for the secondary at this point, and you'd much rather go for something like your equips. And then obviously if the math is a little bit closer and you want to know the exact amount, you can just take the amount for the final damage gain and then divide them by each other, and we see that for the equips it's going to be 283.8 bill per 1 FD gained, whereas the secondary is going to cost us 770 bill per 1 FD gain. So we can clearly see that the equips give us much better value for the money spent on double priming. Now obviously there's other things that factor into this, like the potential new spare system and all that other stuff, but we're not going to get into that. This is just how I would go about what I want to use this scouter for to determine certain factors, like what upgrades I want to make next. So doing things like that are things that are very, very useful for Maplescouter. But also one thing that I actually did just do yesterday was I did redo my inner ability. Now, again, this scouter is something that helped me determine whether or not I wanted to do this or not. So I had 38% buff duration. So what did I do? I went and said, how much am I going to gain if I take away 38% buff duration, but I add in 8% cooldown skip? So went in, applied this, and I went and saw there's about a 73 hexa gain or a 0.2% FD gain on my character overall. So I went in, made the decision that I was going to roll off the buff duration. Now this is just a small example of things that you can do to help make your decisions. And then another thing that I also did even last night was I was cubing. I rolled a 12, 35 and 9 attack power secondary. Now in game it shows me it's 5 million CP increase over my regular 3-line secondary. So I went in and plugged in minus 9% attack and a gain of 35% boss damage, and then I went and applied it, and here it shows that it is a very, very small FD loss. So it actually is not going to be better. These are things that can help dictate or show you yourself what is actually a gain in Maplestory and what's not a gain in Maplestory. So it's very, very helpful to use this website to determine whether or not certain things are gains or certain things are losses. I never used to use this website for things like this because I was always like, oh, it's a lot of work, blah, 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 blah. But I highly, highly, highly recommend every single person to use this website. It's also very cool to see like gains on Oz rings. You can plug in level 4 rings, level 5 rings, level 6 rings, and see the gain that you would get for those and hypothetical gains in the future. You can also help factor in future gains from event stats and things like that, and it's all done just in this direct input window here. So for example, next week we're going to be gaining 10% boss, 5 attack. How much FD am I going to gain for next week? I'm going to gain 1.1% FD and 340% converted on my scouter. Then I can go and see how is this going to help me with the bosses that I want to clear. But yeah, that's pretty much the general breakdown for how you want to go about using this website and why it's helped me so much as well. It's very, very good for not only your main, but it's insanely amazing for mules as well. I would highly recommend using this website, especially since we do have the cube sale coming up. It's definitely going to help make some of your decisions for what you should double prime, what you should cube, what you should go for 3-line. And overall, this website is just going to help you out a ton to know what is going to be the most efficient way to go in terms of making gains for your overall account. But yeah, guys, I really hope that this video did actually help you out today. It's helped me out a ton using this website, so I hope it can help you guys just as much. But if you guys are not using Maplescouter, I'm going to leave the link in the description. Please use this website. It is very, very, very good. But other than that, guys, that is going to wrap up the video for today. Hope you guys did enjoy it, but until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.